Why don't you come help me shut the water off at our cottage? First thing we gotta do is turn the power off to the water pump and to the hot water tank. I know a lot of people get uncomfortable around electricity, me as well, but when it comes to a panel like this that's all closed up, pretty safe to start flipping breakers off when you need to. Which is very easy. You just flip the breaker to the off position. The reason we shut off the hot water tank is we don't want our hot water tank running with no water in it. It'll burn out the element. So after we shut off the power, we've got to disconnect the pressure tank. So this is our well, and this is our pressure tank. We already shut the power off. So now what we have to do is we have to relieve the pressure down here from the tank. To do that, we just open up this little valve here and let the water run through. Now we want to leave that valve open because when we open the valves inside, a bit more water is going to leak down here. Plus, we don't want anything to have any pressure in there to freeze up. So this way the water can push itself out as it expands in the winter. Now the next thing we're going to do is go around and open up all of our faucets and any hose bibs or any other access point we have to water. To empty a hot water tank, you have this handy little valve down at the bottom, which we've put a hose already to drain to outside. All I have to do is loosen it a bit, and the water will start gushing out of there. Actually, it won't, because there's a lot of back pressure holding it in. I have to come up to the top here and open this valve. And to do that, all I do is pull this up. Now air is flowing into it and allowing it to drain below. Because we're on a well up here, we also have a filter system that needs to come out. So I take out each one of the 3 filters and drain them. And I also have to turn off the UV light. Because if I leave that on, that's also gonna burn out. It's meant to have water around it at all times to help keep it cool and serve its purpose. So I've unplugged that already, so that's not generating any more UV, and I can make sure that all the water drains out of the cottage. When it comes to the toilet, you take the lid off and flush it. So you make sure your tank in the back drains all the way out, or as much as it can. You're also going to make sure, not only do you shut off your valve here, but if you can, you want to disconnect it from the tank. Because any little bit of water that's in there could back up and crack it. And you don't want that to happen to your toilet. Don't forget, when you're turning valves like this, much like a kitchen sink that only has a single valve, you want to turn it halfway so you get both your hot and cold open. So it's draining both at the same time. The dishwasher is a bit of a pain in the butt to work with because I have to take off the kick plate, get inside it, and open up the valve that's in there as well. One other thing we need to do before we can put air to the lines and start blowing them out is remove all of the filters and aerators on the ends of our faucets. Sometimes they come off with just a nice quick turn of the fingers. Sometimes you need to use a plier. If you do, be careful that you don't scratch the finish on your beautiful faucet aerator. Now the reason we want to have those off is because if you look, they have all these tiny, tiny little holes in them, and any kind of sediment or anything that is in the lines is going to get stuck in that and damage it or reduce your water flow. So also when you turn your water back on in the spring, you want to leave them off until you've got clean water flowing through. Then you can put them back on. Now for the fun part, we get to blow out the lines with air. I made this handy dandy little contraption out of a leftover piece of laundry hose and a male air hose adapter. Let's do it. You can hear the air blowing out through the faucets, meaning that it's empty now. There's nothing left in those lines. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to crawl under here and still open up these valves, because we have to get every last drop out. We don't want anything freezing in an elbow somewhere and destroying the entire system. There's nothing worse than showing up in the summer for some fun on the beach and needing to wait for the plumber to arrive so that you can use your cottage. Since this water softener was bought without realizing I'd have to shut down the cottage every winter, it is actually one of the water softeners that you are unable to winterize. So to solve that problem, I got some space heaters. And yes, I run 2 of them because if one should fail, the other one will then kick in and be able to maintain the heat in that space so that we don't end up with a disaster in our hands in the spring. One word of warning, make sure you run them off of separate circuits in your house. You don't want them running on the same circuit. Usually the 15 amp service cannot handle that if they both kick on at the same time. The way I've avoided the problem of them being on the same circuit is one is plugged in the bathroom, which is its own circuit, and the other one is on an industrial extension cord going out to a plug that is clearly and definitely on another circuit. I almost forgot the magic pink juice. You want to put a healthy splash of this into every drain so that it mixes with whatever water is inside the trap. This way, your traps don't freeze up. Don't forget your toilet, because that's a trap too. And we have a dishwasher, which means it needs some too for its drain system. It's a good idea once you put in your dishwasher to give it a good startup and let it cycle a little bit.